Hey guys, it's Jason at hardmoneybankers.com with another great expert interview. Today's guest is Josh Mente from the MD Home Team. He's also located in Maryland and has an extremely impressive real estate business that he has grown substantially over the years. So his first year alone, he actually closed about 70 transactions, which is crazy to me. And obviously I had so many questions for him after he told me that. And now his team is currently doing over 300 transactions per year. So if you're a real estate investor, a real estate agent, or just a business owner that you have a hard time kind of understanding how your numbers can get that big, then obviously listen up. Like I said, Josh is an extremely impressive model, and we talk about kind of the growth. And as he's created he's about 10 agents on his team right now. And as he's been growing, he's been adding new team members, more support staff. He's removed himself a lot from the business. And a lot of you out there are probably gonna be like, well, I can't do any more deals. I do a few deals a month and my time is just shot. I've reached capacity. I don't know how to take it to the next level. Well, Josh has mastered this, and I really grilled him on some really interesting questions related to mindset, what his day looks like, some of his goals, and just how he interacts with his team and his customers on a regular basis. You're not going to want to miss this one. So, it's a little bit on the longer side, but it'll be well worth it. I promise you. Help me welcome Josh to the show. So the reason I want to bring Josh on the show today is because he's got a really impressive real estate business of pretty much what he's put together here kind of in the last few years that I'm going to let him share with you in a second. So I know so many other real estate investors, agents, business owners, pretty much everyone out there who feels like they've reached capacity. So for instance, let's just take a real estate agent, for example. Say you're a real estate agent, you do 2 deals per month, 25 transactions per year. That's a lot. You should be proud of yourself. That's a successful business, right? But most of these agents say to themselves, well, I want to do more transactions. But they physically just don't know how. They cannot wrap their brain around it. They are like, I'm working nonstop, 7 days a week. I have no more time. I don't know how all these other big agents do it. I'm just out of time, and I don't know how to do it. So some of the numbers that I think Josh is going to share with you in a second probably is going to seem very high to you, but I'm hoping if we're lucky, he can break some of these things down step by step so you can learn a little bit about how he set this up. And hopefully if growing a team, growing a real estate practice, you're taking your business to the next level. If that's something you want to do, sit back and watch because you're going to learn a lot today. So Josh, thanks again for being on the show, and let's just start. Tell everybody maybe how you got into the business, how you got into real estate, things like that.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jason. It was quite interesting, actually, because in 2008, I had this great idea to get my real estate license when nobody wanted to buy homes. So it started with one relationship. A guy actually called me and said that he was having trouble finding good realtors in Maryland. I was an investor, said that I would be good. Why don't you get your license? I fought it for a little bit, and he actually ended up running an REO department. So it started with one relationship with one bank and turned into multiple, and then we just kind of scaled it from there.
Sure. Yeah, that's crazy. So when was that? What year was that?
2008. So right when everything looked like it was Armageddon.
So about 9 years ago.
Yeah, 8 to 9 years ago.
How many transactions do you think you did that first year?
First year in 2008, there was only a couple because I was really building my pipeline. But by 2009, I was at the time working at Long & Foster, and I ended up Rookie of the Year for all 7 states that they're in or whatever it is. And I believe that the transaction total was around 70 to 80, somewhere in that ballpark.
So that was like the first full year in business? 70
full year in business, yeah.
And who was on your team? Was it just you at that time, or did you have support staff? I mean, that's a lot of transactions.
Yeah. It's funny. As the pipeline grew exponentially, I basically turned to a friend and said, I'm drowning, I need help, can you come in and help me? And it started there, and then we grew it another level, basically going into 2010. And again, we doubled the business, at least the amount of inventory that we had. And I was drowning again, and I turned to my aunt who got laid off from her job and said, hey, you need a job? I need some help, come here and help me. So basically, the 3 of us took it to a level, it plateaued, we created our own glass ceiling. Things were working fine because we were selling 120 to 140 homes a year, pretty much like clockwork. But I was working 80, 90 hours a week to do it. So sure. I felt like there had to be a better way, or I wanted to get out and go do something else.
Got it. Yeah, I mean that's a lot of deals, and especially that's a lot of deals to just do right up the cusp, right? And I don't know this, but I'm guessing a lot of agents, they get into this business, they learn, they have a listing, they do some buyer appointments, they grow and grow, and by the end of the year they do a few transactions and they make a little bit of money, and they're like, cool, let's take that to the next level. I mean, 70 deals first year is pretty impressive. So tell us a little bit about kind of what your operation looks like today. 9 year, fast forward nine years.
Yeah. So, gosh, we have 19 people total, not including myself. We have 2 VAs in the Philippines. We have a runner, a field guy who drives around all day. That's all he does. We have a transaction coordinator. We have a bookkeeper who handles a lot of the REO stuff. Because with the bank-owned properties, a lot of property management involved in it, so it's a lot more labor-intensive. I have an operations manager. We have 10 agents. Full-time ISA, somebody who answers the phones and all incoming internet and phone call traffic to try and turn the leads over and get them out to the agents so they can focus on income-producing activity. I probably forgot somebody in there, and I apologize, but it looks something basically like that.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I mean, I don't think a lot of real estate agents sometimes realize, or anybody realizes that being a real estate agent, being a real estate broker, running a real estate team, it's treated like a business, any other business. It's not just a salesperson that's selling real estate. You have support team, you have you have a lot of other key components and a lot of different people inside the organization to run it like a business. It just happens that the business you're running is selling real estate. It doesn't have to be a full operation, but a lot of this, the purpose of this video is, I really think, to attract other real estate agents, just so they can learn to try to get to the next level, because there's so many that I talk to that really want to grow and they just do not know how to. So let's just talk a little bit about starting kind of and growing a team. I'm assuming there's probably a good amount of limited beliefs that an agent may have related to starting a team. I don't know, maybe there's probably, I don't know, you're the expert at this, but my guess is the biggest thing they're scared of is people use me because it's me, and if they can't use me, they're not gonna go with us, type of thing. And then they're scared that they can't give the quality, or if they hire another agent to replace them, that they feel they're not going to give the quality work and support that me as an agent would be. Is that somewhat accurate?
I would say it's probably spot on. Unfortunately, egos sometimes come into play. Sometimes it's other reasons, but it doesn't really matter what the variable is. But the mindset is that usually agents start working their sphere of influence, making some phone, cold calls and things like that, and working FSBOs, expires, whatever their angles might be. But in the end, there is a belief amongst most of them that the reason the business is there is because of them. And actually, in a weird sort of way, sometimes it's there in spite of them, right? Because, the hardest part with being an agent is that you really have about 10 to 12 jobs to do. I mean, everything from you have to originate well, you have to obviously go out and show homes or sit in people's living rooms and get them to sign listing agreements with you. You have to, get it under contract. You got to perform on the contract. You have internal paperwork within, whatever brokerage you're at. And you go through this whole long list, and oh, by the way, you need to be a bookkeeper. And oh, by the way, you actually need to be a business person, regardless if you're one agent doing one transaction or one agent doing 50 or a team doing, 300, 400, whatever it might be. And sometimes, what gets lost in that shuffle is that as you get involved with the minutia, you can't find your way out of it, right? So you create your own glass ceiling by staying in the way of it, if that makes any sense.
It makes a lot of sense. And I mean, we both probably collaborate on a regular basis with a lot of business owners and a lot of entrepreneurs. And, I'm just kind of thinking back to a few people I've talked to that are really good operators. It could be a hairstylist who does a great job cutting hair, and all of a sudden she wants to start a business. He or she wants to start a business. I'm like, listen, your core competency right now is not going to be cutting hair. I know you love cutting hair, but chances are that's just going to be part of your job at this point. You're going to be moving away, and you're going to be taking on a lot of different hats, and a lot of things that you're probably not going to want to do. At the beginning. So first, I guess if we're giving advice to a real estate agent who wants to either create a team or really expand and treat it more like a larger business, it's, if you love, selling, if you love carding buyers around it, whatever that case is, think through the entire process and really, like we all do, is, write down on a piece of paper what you want to do with your day and what you're good at to begin with. And
sure,
I think that's a challenge that a lot of people have.
Yeah.
It's very different. It's a very, my day to day. I mean, it just happens that you're selling real estate. My day to day, we're selling loans. That's not what I necessarily do on a day to day basis. That's just what our business does.
Yeah, it's quite funny. How I ended up down this path is very similar to where other agents end up. I happened to be selling 120 to 150 homes, had only mostly REO bank-owned properties, and was kind of really stuck in the minutia of it. And I was really dreaded the business, hated going to work every day, stuff like that, working 80, 90 hours, missing my family, all that kind of stuff. Luckily, I had somebody who walked into my life and basically said, you have a really sharp business mind. You're not treating this like a business. And I said, well, I don't view it like a business. I view it like a job. He said, you got it wrong. And it started this course of exploration and learning, and really re-energized with real estate as a whole, because I was like, oh gosh, here I am online in 2011, 12, looking to buy a business, or what business am I going to go into when I shut this down? And little did I know, I actually was in a business. I just created my own glass ceiling by staying in the middle of it. So it really set a course of events that really changed my life. And I always tell people, like, I consider myself an entrepreneur. I just happen to be in real estate at this point.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. And there's a few things that hopefully these are tips for people. But going back to what we talked about related to agents, I mean, chances are there's probably agents in your office that are better agents than you are, right? And there's,
Sure.
our guy currently, Tony in my office, he sells loans better than I sell them. He gets a higher rate of return. He can get a higher rate of return for our borrowers. It just happens. And you put the right people in place, and we always kind of hired support. We had some supporting roles here at our company, but I'll never forget, probably like 4 years ago, I was working with one of our business coaches, who was our business coach at the time, and I really, really wanted to hire what we have today called a portfolio manager. And they process the loans. It was stuff I was doing on a regular basis. It was the stuff I hated. It was touching every file, being involved with the paper stuff, and it was following up and just stalking title companies and things like that. And I absolutely hated it. And my rebut, he's like, go hire this person. And my whole rebut was like, well, they're not going to be able to do it as good as I can do it. And there was two sides of that. The first side, I was like, well, he was like, don't worry about if they can do it as well. Let's say they do it 80% as well, right? They do it 80% as well as you, and you don't have to do any of it, right? And 20% slips through the cracks. But then it ended up happening as this person got into it and they got better and better. Does it a hell of a lot better than I would have ever done it. So, and which is hard to see that.
Yeah, right. So it's hard to see the forest through the trees, right? Because
Yeah.
when you're in it and you're doing it, sometimes people look at it as an expense, right? So they say, oh gosh, I can't hire this person because it's going to cost money. Really what it is an investment, not an expense, right? Because by having that person own that job, if you hire the right person through the right processes and they own the job, it frees you to go do other things. And as a business owner, your time is better spent in the 20%, not the 80%, right? So by that, what I mean is there's 20% of the activity you do on a daily basis, which produces 80% of the results. So my job today, every day, is to look at what am I doing? What am I touching? What of that falls into 80%? What falls into 20%? So look, it's an ongoing daily struggle with me. Like I'm right now trying to revamp the way I look at email, because I'm trying to break myself free of the chains of email, because it really drags down efficiency within my day and allows me to get less of that 20% done. So it's finding different channels where that goes to, and people, and training them, and making sure that they get to the right spots. But those limiting beliefs, will limit you in what you do. So if you believe somebody will not do as well as you, then chances are they're not, right? But in the end, what you're alluding to is ultimately they don't need to have to do it as well as you in order for you to succeed as a business, because it's a true team effort when you have a business. Now, you're only as good as your weakest link, but at the same time, by having 19 people doing it, you're able to actually give better service, better results, better everything, just by having multiple people doing it and being in their silo doing what they do best.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird what I'm about to say to hear this, but sometimes it's actually irresponsible. It would be irresponsible of you to take on a listing appointment. It would be irresponsible of you to be, to run a buyer around. And what I mean by that, and I'm sure you can agree, if you're spending your time on that and you're not spending time on growth, on systems, on training employees and things like that, if you're actually spending time on the transactional stuff in your business, it really is irresponsible, because you have a lot of people that are counting on you for payroll, for growth, for a lot of things, your vendors, your employees. And you kind of got to be selfish in a way of, I can't do this task. Like, I'm not saying it's below me to do this task. It has nothing to do with that. When we started a business, like you started yours, you did every task. So you've already been involved. You've been involved in it, but you cannot continue to do all those things every day, because there's only so many hours in a day. And it's like, I would love to help do this, but I physically can't, and it's irresponsible for me. You almost say like a bad word out of it. Like, I can't do it because I'm doing the rest of our company a disservice if I do that. I need to spend time, and you're counting on me to, I'm counting on you to do your particular task, and you're counting on me to continue to help grow.
100%, right? So figure out what your why is in business, right? So like, if your passion, you're like, you know what? I just love going on listing appointments. That is it. That's all I want to do. Build the rest of the business around you, right? Find a rock star operations manager. Do what you're passionate about, right? Now, the flip side, and what you were alluding to, is pretty simple in one respect, right? So, like you said, I started by scrubbing dishes, mopping floors, in the back end of the kitchen as a metaphor to the kitchen, restaurant.
Yep.
At some point, I'm not above going back and mopping the floors and washing the dishes. I'll do whatever it takes to get done. But just like in a restaurant, you don't walk in the front door and the guy, the hostess greets you, then goes to the table, comes up, puts the apron on, now it's your waitress, then goes back, after taking your order, goes in the kitchen, all of a sudden you see them as the cook.
Yeah.
Then when they clear the table, it's the busboy, it's the same person. No, it's not really how it works. And if it does, you're going to have like a 2 or 3 seat restaurant, and that's about the max you're going to do.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, if that works, you get one customer, and that's it. And that's that can go back to our opening line of what we talked about. If you're a struggling agent and you're doing 2 deals a month, and keep in mind, 25 deals a year is a lot for investors, or for agents, especially in the DC, Baltimore market, because the amounts are high. But that's all you can handle, because you're doing every task.
So this goes back, and I'm sure you have, because you have a good business mind. You've read the E-Myth, right?
Yeah.
Right? So Michael Gerber, fantastic author, probably changed the way I looked at business, right? So you can get into business, right, thinking you're the entrepreneur, but what you really are is a technician, right? Yeah. So in that, you might be a great technician. You could actually be the best listing agent that you could possibly be. But when you're trying to do the other 10 things to run the business, you're doing it a disservice to being the technician. Or you get involved in being the technician and the business owner, and then basically what happens is that you drowned in it, right? So you start to grow to hate it, like I was, and like I was telling you about, because I didn't realize that I was staying involved being the technician in the business, right? So once I removed myself from that, it was a fairly liberating experience, because we could see exponential growth. I mean, literally from 2014 into 2015, we had 300% growth, or pretty close to that. And that wouldn't be possible if I was still grinding it out day to day. Now, I know there's people on my team that do it better than I can, right? Because I have other things to focus on, a bigger picture, a business. I'm like a steward. This is like my family, right? So, my job is to protect them, almost like the patriarch, right? So I need to focus on business development, leadership, all those kind of things in order to grow this business. It's not me sitting in someone's living room because they saw us on Zillow and they saw my name and they have to, talk to only me. So we're scripting things around it and trying to get people to understand that they're better off by being with the expert in that silo in our business than they are with me.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you brought up that book, because I read that book 3 times, and I actually believe that anyone listening, number one, if they have not read that, they're probably still a technician, so they probably should read that. And you should read it 3 times. You should read it when you're a technician. That'll help you grow to be a manager. And I read it the first time years ago, and then I read it after we hired our first employee, and I wasn't necessarily doing, day-to-day. So some of everything I was doing before, I wanted to learn about how to be a better manager and things like that. So I read that, and then, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I read it for a 3rd time, because I was a straight visionary of the operation. Because there's key takeaways that you're going to get no matter where you are in your business out of that book. And just like you said, probably the biggest takeaway is you could be the best real estate agent. You could be the best mechanic. You could be the best hairstylist. That doesn't matter at all when starting a business. There are so many things that you gotta, that kind of goes out the door. There's a lot. I'm willing to bet you're the best contractor, whatever the case is. You are. I'm sure, or whoever's listening, like you are the best at what you do. Nobody's stating that.
Yeah. So what happens is you're in search of I own something. I am building something, right? But really, when you get in, as you stay a technician, basically all you've done is bought yourself a job. That's it. You might as well go work somewhere else if that's your passion, right? So either in your team hiring around it, or actually go do it if that's what your passion is, and that's you really want to be a technician. Just be the best technician you can be, right? But when you actually buy yourself a job, there's probably no more deflating feeling in the entire world than thinking you're a business owner, but actually just being, a slave to your job, basically.
Yeah. I mean, this happens on a regular basis when I talk to business owners, and they're like, yeah, I'm struggling with this. Well, how much money are you taking out of the business? And they're like, whatever, I don't know, 50 grand, whatever they take out. I take out 50 grand. Well, guess what? You could go across the street and go work for this guy over here. He'll pay you a $50,000 salary. It'll be 9 to 5. You're not going to have any debt on the business. You're not going to be liable for any of this. You don't take any risk. What's the difference? And they're like, well, this is mine. I built it. And I'm like, I get all that, but be responsible. And, it is not responsible to unless it's going the right way with it.
Yeah, well, wrap it back to what we talked about earlier, right? So ego sometimes gets in the way, right? So it's not fair to admit that I have to grow a business or get beyond myself, or have the introspection to actually look at yourself and say, what do I need to do today in order to be better at what I do, to hone my craft, right? So if you're a fantastic technician and you really want to be a business owner, then what you do is you find yourself a way to surround yourself with people and transfer that knowledge to them. Teach them how to be the best technician. Teach them how to be the best listing agent or buyer's agent, right? That's where you're actually able to affect and change others' lives at the same time yours. It's quite a powerful experience when you see people grow around you, and not because of you, but in some respects almost in spite of you, right? You're building something bigger than yourself.
That's right. Yeah, similar to this, because I'm curious in a second how you organize what I'm about to say. But so a lot of things we do here that we like to call offense versus defense. So offense is growth, marketing, activities, building the business. Defense is transactional businesses, being inside a transaction. The transactional stuff has to get done, and I fully understand that. Like, you have to go on a listing appointment. But that's a transactional job. I mean, that's like a defensive task, right? Because the offensive task was doing the marketing, doing the growth, doing the relationship building to get that person to call you so you can turn them into the client. After they're already a customer or a client, like that's just part of your business. You're playing defense. So what we like to do here is we like to rate everything either offense or defense. And the offensive stuff is, doing content pieces, doing videos like this, right? Because this helps get exposure and things like that. So doing content, doing growth activities, training employees, things like that, right? So we like to call them offense or defense, and a way that we track these things, we call them, we use a term called day winner. Did you win the day? Yeah. And we actually were going to create a web app to do this, like a mobile app. We just never really did. I mean, but anyways, and where I'm getting at in a second, I'm curious to see how you track some of your things. But we have a different point system for everything that we do. So we do a content piece. Let's say you get 15 points for the day for that. So we turn it into like a little bit of a game. And between my business partner Chris and I, we try to get about 100 points every day. Like that's the goal. So we have a whiteboard out, and it's like, cool, I just did this video with Josh, 15 points for that. And you only get points for offensive stuff. If I close 5 loans today and one was the biggest deal I ever did, like it's not an offense task. That's a defense task, right? If I have a new referral source, for instance, and I bring them into the office and I meet with them, I get points on that, right? That's an offense task. But a lot of people don't realize the difference between playing offense and playing defense, or what transactional activities are compared to growth activities. So I'm curious to see how you track those things, and maybe just be on a to-do list. I don't know.
Yeah, a couple things. So what you're talking about there, offense, is that wrapping it back. So that 20% that I was talking about that you're working on, that's the growth, that's the business development, that's the future. That's how you progress the business. So in that, yeah, absolutely, your effort should be focused there. Now, it's actually funny you mention this. Right now, I'm reading the 4-Hour Work Week. Tim Ferriss,
first time or
it's actually the first time, believe it or not.
Yeah, I've read it twice. Yep.
But I will be reading it probably 2 more times in the next 2 months just to make sure I absorb all of it. But, like I'm really at a point with it where, what he says, starts to make sense, and all the books start to kind of come together. There's common themes amongst all of it, right? And in it, there's just so much information. And when you do that on a daily basis, you basically start working on the 20% and leave the 80%, the defense, right, to the people that are going to perform the defense best. That's where you're actually able to get rocket fuel in your business, right? Because then you're focusing. Some people call it rainmakers, right? I'll make it rain, you clean up the mess, right? So, in getting key people in right positions in order to perform on it. So, like in our business, we use disc profiling. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Okay. So, and in there, it's just a very simple way to kind of categorize people based on their skills and strengths, and everybody has probably certain skills. Like I don't have the same ones that my operations manager does, and our transaction coordinators are by design supposed to have different skill sets, based on the spectrum than I as the team leader. And when you follow this and you put people in the right places, you send them on the right path to success in their position and business as a whole.
Yeah, no. And I mean, we're not going to go on a rant on personality types because we could spend an hour talking about that, obviously. But obviously, every staff member when they start has to get a personality assessment. But after knowing personality types like you do and like I do from being involved in it, I mean, I can meet someone for the first time and peg exactly who they are. And, again, we could do a whole talk on negotiation and stuff like that, and that helps with that because you know exactly who that person is. You know what they're, I don't know. If they're high I, you can see right through them. Of like, listen, I'm sure you're great at sales and great at schmoozing, but like your back end operational stuff's probably a nightmare, unorganized. But that's a different story.
I can guarantee it. If you're good at sales, the back end is just atrocious.
That's like we said, we could do an hour conversation on that because that is a fun topic we always talk about. Yeah. So. Run us through maybe like a typical day of what you do. Like, what are you doing in a typical day?
Gosh, well, this morning I was up at 4:30 in the morning. So just by happenstance, I actually don't even use an alarm clock. I usually wake up between 4:30 and 6:30 for the most part, unless something crazy. Like I have a holiday party to go to tonight, and hopefully I'll have a little bit of fun and I won't be up at 4:30 again.
Sure.
But it starts there, and I'll do a bit of reading. And some of that reading might be light reading. It might be reading the Tim Ferriss book, trying to get a little tidbit for the day. But in that book, and I didn't quite get to it in the last little conversation, basically what he's saying is pick 2 big things that you need to knock out that day. Knock them out before anything that you do. Don't check email. Don't do that kind of stuff. Get into a situation where you know the big things. And if you knock those out, is your day a success? So as far as the scoring goes, like you're talking about, offense, defense, that's how I look at the 2 big rocks I got to move today. Did I move either one of them? If I didn't, then I know what I have to do tomorrow, right? And I know today was not a success in how I grade myself. Yeah. So basically in the mornings, I try and get through meetings and rocks and then try and get into something a bit deeper in the afternoon. A lot of times I'll do working lunches. I think 3 days this week I was out lunch meeting somebody with business development, right? And, just try and work my day up until about 5 or 6 o'clock. And like tonight at 5 o'clock, I'll go to my daughter's basketball practice. I'm coaching her. I'm going to do that and then off to a holiday party. And, my life is so manageable. Even my wife the other day is like, I can't believe that you don't even crack your laptop at night anymore. Because where I came from to where I am today, and that's pretty much a typical day. There's a lot of fires to put out. There's a lot of, pseudo emergencies, that everybody has, and people push their neuroses on you and all that kind of stuff. So it's just about retraining, rerouting, leadership, positivity, like how do you get through the day staying, on top of it basically.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of them, when we were just talking about like offense and defense stuff and transactional versus growth stuff, I mean, you have to do transaction. There's some transactional stuff that's going to occur. There's defense that has to occur. There's not one of those isn't a bad word and the other one's not a good word. I mean, they're not good or bad. It's just inevitable. It's just have the mindset of like really, if you wake up and you go to whatever, a listing appointment, then you go to a home inspection, then you do this and you do this, and you didn't play any offense that day, like, it's not that productive a day. It's that simple. It's, it just isn't. It wasn't a productive day. Did you have a closing today and you got a check in hand for $4,000? Great. That being said,
that's a lagging indicator of the 20% activity.
Yeah.
That activity happened months ago.
That's
just the lagging indicator, the cash coming in the business. Yeah. And you know what? I mean, and this probably touches on a good point too. Depends on what your why is, right? So like, why are you in business? For me, my why is not money. It's not what it's about, right? So I'm trying to build something bigger than myself, trying to provide for others, and build something sustainable that basically, in theory, in maybe 5 years, I get to wake up and have a 4-hour work week. I don't know what that looks like, but that's what I'm working towards, is to build a legacy, right? Something I can pass down to my kids if that's what it is. Sell off if I want to. Not work as hard at because I want to spend time with my kids, or gosh, I want to learn how to play guitar or go to Spain for a month, like that kind of stuff. And it's probably the hardest concept to grasp when you're the technician in the middle of the business going, well, how would I take a week vacation? Because you built the business around you, right? So when you build it and you're a cog in that wheel, right? Then you're getting in your own way, creating your glass ceilings. You can't even take a vacation.
Yeah,
right?
No, the answer is, how do I take a vacation? Well, the answer, you can't take one right now. The way you set this up, you cannot take one. You're right about that. But let's figure this out and rework this so you can take a vacation next year.
Absolutely.
Because so many people, I mean, that's just how most business owners are. I mean, think about a doctor, for instance. Like a doctor, the service they're selling is themselves. So they're booked from like 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, all the way. Like, let's just say that job they can't replace themselves. Well, as a real estate agent, like, you don't have to do that to yourself. And that's what's happening for the most part. It may not be as definable as a doctor's position, as a doctor's going to a doctor's appointment, but it's very, very similar to that. If you're filling your day with stuff, the wrong stuff, you're falling into this mouse wheel that you're just never going to get out of.
Right. One of the things that just stuck out in Tim Ferriss's book, Before Our Work Week, I was just reading, he talks about people getting themselves busy for the sake of being busy, right? Yeah. So, like, trying to fill their day full of things that...
I'll show you something funny. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah. Filling yourself full of stuff, right? So, like, gosh, I feel busy. And there's a funny... because I did work in corporate America for a while. And he's like, if you're in corporate America and you want a raise and a promotion, just walk around the office on your cell phone pretending like you're busy. People are going to throw money at you and give you jobs you don't even want because you look like you're busy. You're filling your day with busy stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to find this in our chapter of our book that we wrote related to busyness. All right. Chapter 3, are you doing business or playing business? We all wrote a whole freaking chapter on that exact same thing because so many people we know run around like maniacs. Like, what is the reason you have to run through the office as fast as you can to do whatever? Like, what is possibly an emergency? Is there a fire in there?
Piss poor planning, probably.
Yeah.
Right? So, or, how many real estate agents do you know that are like, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy? Yeah, we're busy. We're doing transactions. We're in business. But you created your own problem at that point, because you didn't hire an EA. Or, like I work, Keller Williams is our brokerage we work in. And the MRAA, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. It's just basically a roadmap to show you how to succeed in this business, how you start, how you build that pyramid, how you get to the 7th level. And your first hire is an executive assistant, somebody you can empower and trust and shovel things off to. If you don't do that, you're not going to go anywhere. In Baltimore market, if you're a rock star and you're really good and you're working 60, 70 hours a week, you're probably going to, it depends on the mix of business, but you're going to produce somewhere around $10 million a year. Maybe 15 if you're crazy killing it on some higher end properties. But that's it. That's as good as it's going to get until you decide to make a difference and change what you're doing. Hire an EA, shovel stuff off so you can focus on income producing activity.
Just no more time in the day. That's all it can be. It doesn't matter.
I'm not a rocket scientist, right? I didn't create this new model that like somebody else, I'm not this inventor. I didn't invent, I don't know, the iPhone or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm just following what other people are doing and just modeling what they're doing and tweaking it for what works for me.
Sure. Yeah. So obviously this is super impressive, the way you have this whole thing set up, because a lot of agents don't, and they dream, probably they want to. I don't know if they truly do believe that's what they want, but maybe they think they want. Because like you're saying firsthand, there's very little transactional type of stuff. Like, what do you think's lacking? If you could pick one thing that's lacking inside the operation, because even though you're selling hundreds and hundreds of houses a year, nothing's perfect, right? Everyone's lacking something. Like, what's like one thing that just kind of irks you that you're lacking, that you're really trying to get to the next level with?
Well, I think I have about 15 of them, right? So it's never perfect. Where are we at right now? So I'm still in the business. I don't do any transactions. I don't go on any appointments. I don't show any buyers, investors, all that stuff. I mean, there's people I talk with, and help to kind of move stuff forward. But I manage all 10 salespeople. So really, first quarter, we're hiring a sales manager. And that person is then going to report to me, and I'm going to hold them accountable to holding the agents accountable, right? And then when I free that time up, I can then focus on the next marketing piece or the next growth in business, that 20%, right? What am I going to put my effort, time, energy in, focus it properly, where the distractions are out of my way, and I can go on to doing other things. I mean, every agent's on their phone constantly, right? So there's a need or a compulsion to, I got to get back to somebody in 3 minutes or they're not going to work with me. It's BS. You set the expectations properly.
Yeah.
Look, if you answer somebody's text at 11:30 at night, you've given them permission to continue texting you 11:30 at night.
That's right.
And you've also said, I'm setting the expectation. I'm going to reply back to you in 5 minutes, 11:30. If you don't, what's wrong with you, right? So there's nothing wrong with setting expectations with your clients. That I have a family at night. What happens at 11:30 can be discussed at 8:30 in the morning. Nothing's going to change between now and then. Is your house on fire? No. Okay. Does somebody die? No. Okay. All right. We'll fix it tomorrow. Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, setting expectations is a whole concept of its own that we could talk about forever as well. Is just setting proper, because everyone's like, well, I'm the best realtor. I give the best customer service, and if they need to talk to me at 3 a.m, it's like whatever. I mean, that's great, but you're whatever. That's a whole
You've created your own worst enemy, right? So that isn't the definition of customer service. What is the definition of customer service is being present in whatever you're doing. So right now, if I'm talking to you via Skype, right, and I'm sitting over here, and where's my phone, and what's going on, and oh gosh, I got 14 texts and phone calls. You wouldn't do that in this setting, right? I'm present in this moment. But when you're working on a project, why are you doing that? Why are you continuing that behavior on? When you go to the gym, you go on the treadmill for 30 minutes. You don't get on for 1, get off for 3, get back on for 2, get off for 1,
Points. Not
if you want, results, but,
No, really valid point. Really, really good point. Something to think about. What I know before I even ask this question that you already have a planned out goals for down the road. What's either your 5-year goal or 10-year goal? Either one. I'm sure you have both of them already lined up.
10, I do not. I definitely have 5. Yeah, I wish I had 10. Actually, hopefully, I'm sitting on the beach somewhere in 10 years, and I'm, if I'm doing this, it's, here and there and for fun, and maybe I have my own podcast or something. Who knows? Sure. Some far off thing. 5 years. So where we are today in 2016, we'll sell. And we're just finishing it out right now. We're in late December, and it looks about 320 transactions for 50 million plus. And really where we are is we're going to go 1 year, right? So we're going to be 400 to 450 transactions, which equates to about 25% growth. And that is an achievable goal. What we're working towards is getting our average transaction price up, or the revenue from the transaction, to a point where it would equate to $80 million. So about 200,000 average transaction. Those are the 2 main goals. The 5-year goal, we're going to be in several markets. We're going to have expansion team. We're going to duplicate our models. Basically have economies of scale because we can build it out of a centralized hub. So if we're in Richmond, Virginia, we don't have to have a transaction coordinator down there and rent space and all the other stuff that goes with it. So you start to get economies of scale. So the long answer is, and I know this will happen, we'll sell 1,000 homes plus. And, we'll probably show up on some report in, Real Trends, top 100 agents, that kind of stuff. It's going to happen. It's already done. The goal's set. We're working towards it. We're focusing on the business. I'm focusing on the 20% as much as I can. And as the years go on, that is going to be my only job, is coming in, focusing on new marketing efforts, business development, expansion, things like that, being a true business owner.
Yeah. No, I mean, your key thing, what you said was, I know it's going to happen because I already put it on paper and it's a goal. And, we hit some things that a lot of people don't really know about us, but when Chris and I set up our business goal with our coach years ago, we had a 10-year goal we hit in 3 years, and this 10-year goal I didn't think was imaginable. Like it was a lot of transactions. It was it was getting to a $35 million loan portfolio, which we have today, and 250 transactions. I mean, that's what it was less than that because we've done more since then. But anyways, that was like the 10-year goal. And
you don't have any more limiting beliefs, do you?
Yeah.
You're like, man, I conquered it. Okay, what's that next 10-year goal?
Yeah,
Look at that too.
Yeah, I mean, whenever people get scared about setting really crazy goals, I always tell themselves like, okay, well, when do you want to set that goal? Okay, like it's like a 10-year goal. Okay, well, where were you 10 years ago? Think about what you were doing 10 years ago. A lot of people were in different industries. Some people were still in school. Very different things. I mean, things happen, and you know how like compound interest works, and you can grow money very quick. Well, you compound your knowledge, your database, your everything, right? And it grows and it becomes real. And as far as I'm concerned, when I learned about how to sell on the internet, the first thing I learned that made the most sense to me that I got was, hey, if you can sell this product here if you can sell one thing on the internet for $1, just do the exact same thing. You made $1 profit, do the exact same thing as much as you want to make as much money as you want. It's that simple. So
and make it duplicatable too, right?
Exactly. And do it. And obviously it's not as easy as that sounds, but at the same time, going backwards with goals, do a 10-year goal, then you do a 5-year, then a 2.5. And really, if you set up your goal sheets the right way and you know exactly where you want to be down the road and you work that backwards, in order to like double your volume, let's just say, all that may mean is like in 2 weeks from now, I need to have made this many calls or this many marketing pieces or this many this. You break it down. And yeah, it's crazy what has to happen within a 10-year period, but when you break that down to a daily or weekly basis, it's nothing.
Right.
Very simple.
My sales agents break it down very simply, even to like people within your organizations where accountability comes from, right? So there's 52 weeks in the year, right? And basically our minimum standard of your buyer's agent is 2 transactions, 400,000. It's not like 10 units and $2 million a month or you're off the team or something crazy. So I always break this down for them. I go like, look, on a monthly basis, this means what did you do today? What did you do this week to get 2 transactions this month? That's 1 every other week. So you didn't get 1 this week, which means you're behind the ball. Next week, who are you working with? What are you doing? Who are you getting under contract next week to stay on pace with your goal? That goal will produce a result, a measurable result, right? So breaking it down to the minor. So I do this. There's an agent after 2 or 3 weeks of accountability. He comes in, he goes, man, he's like, my goal is 1 every week. He's like, I can see it. I'm not looking at this big off like crazy goal that's like 50 transactions this year and something I'm like get drawn by. It's okay, this week all I have to do is 1. What am I doing? What behavior am I exhibiting this week to get 1 transaction?
Yeah, I mean, you really could break it down to be really simple. If you think of it out on a large basis, you can't. You'd be too overwhelmed.
Yep.
It's like, hey, I want to I make $100,000 a year, and hey, I want to make $10 million a year. Is that possible? Yes. Can you mentally break that down? No, not unless you start from putting a key date and then working your way back. And yeah, no, the goal settings. I mean, a lot of the principles we just talked about are really, really good. All right, so I've got one last question for you that I like to ask every single person that I interview because I think it's really interesting. So, what does retirement look for? In your eyes, Josh, do you feel like you're I'm a rise and grind. I'm going to grind forever, and this is what I do, and that's probably doesn't actually sound like you, but anyways, I'm going to grind until I die, or hey, I've got a few businesses that are working for me. It's spitting out cash flow. I got a bunch of rental properties and assets. I'm out of here, like lose my phone number type of thing, or is it somewhere in between?
It's okay. Maybe I do have a 10-year goal because I already have it mapped out, right? So if my wife is sitting here on my shoulder, right, she's gonna say, "Yeah, right. You're never retiring," because she saw me working like crazy. She knows I'm dedicated, focused, set goals, achieve anything I want to do. I always achieve. There might be some, fail forwarding moments and all that kind of stuff, but in the end, I get there. So fast forward. In 5 years, I'm at a level, and they call it in our business 7th level, where I'm removed from the grind. It's functioning. Operation manager has things, and I'm focusing. But there's basically going to be 5 businesses that I'm going to be running within 10 years, but on a CEO level, a reporting level, a high level management accountability, right? So I will have, 5 hours a week, but if I'm gone for a month, the business runs without me. It runs better if I'm there, but doesn't need me there to run, right? So the mindset of being a business owner, still having to be present all the time, isn't always the case, right? So at that point in time, I'm volunteering, I'm giving back, I'm maybe a coach, I'm learned to play guitar, I've flown a plane, I literally have a bucket list, 100 things, and on those things are what I have to knock off and achieve, right? Going to the Great Wall of China, or whatever that might be. Travel, vacation, family, right? So, what's most important isn't like, I'm 80 and I'm like, yeah, I worked every day of my life and I'm going to go to the grave, and on my tombstone it's going to say, here lies a guy that worked really hard and was very admirable. Most people who lay on their deathbeds will probably tell you, I wish I spent more time with my family. I wish I took that vacation. I wish that I learned how to fly a plane, or whatever it is, right? You don't say, I wish I made more money, I wish I worked more, I wish I bought a Ferrari, right? So for me, it's pretty simple. The one thing that money affords you is time, right? So really what I want to do is make sure I stop trading my time for money, and I know that's kind of a abstract kind of thing, but there'll be businesses running and investments that I have. Like, I have investments in restaurants in New York City, shopping centers in Ohio, and stuff like that. So it's just pushing money around and getting passive income. Because once I can get my passive income to a place and turn my business into passive income in a weird sort of way, then I feel like I've won. That's the American dream, right? So you have money making money for you without spending your time doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I mean, and it's one of those things. You don't have to worry about saving money. You don't have to worry about making money through any businesses or through your actual physical work. I mean, that's the beauty of passive investing. And I mean, if anyone watches any videos I've ever done related about finance, it's all about investing in assets. And every dollar you put into your bank account, you better be matching that dollar and putting them into an asset at the same time. And if you have that mental mindset, $1 into taxes, well, it's actually $1.50 into taxes, but $1 into your pocket, $1.50 into taxes, and $1 into an asset. And if you kind of can do that and stick to that, your assets will grow a hell of a lot a hell of a lot faster and a hell of a lot bigger than your hard work is going to grow. It's just going to happen. That's just the way it is. You can't work as hard as your money can work for you.
Right. Same thing. You bought yourself a job, right? Yeah. You've created your own glass ceiling. Get out of your own way. I mean, the common theme in all of this we just talked about for the last half hour, whatever we've been talking, get out of your own way, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so what's the best way to kind of reach the Maryland, the MD home team?
Well, so we have an inside sales associate. So 410-394-9111 will ring her if you have a home to list or sell, or interested in any types of transactions. She's a great person to talk to. You're also welcome to reach out to me myself if you want to talk about anything related to business or any other types of activities. I'm pretty much a sharing person. I'll tell you the blueprint, because it's the hard work that that you need to do to take it to where you need to go. But it's look, laws of abundance. There's so much out here. You're not taking anything from me, and I'm not taking anything from you, right? It's just who's willing to work hard and build it the right way to get where you need to get to.
There's also more value in being an ally than a competitor. People,
of course.
I mean, it's same if you're a real estate investor, if you're a real estate agent. I mean, pretty much most businesses in general, like, you're not direct competition. There's more that you can learn from somebody else's business that you guys could help each other with as straight allies than competing with it. It's just, whatever. Just because your team didn't get a listing doesn't mean, I don't know. You know how it is. I mean, it doesn't. There's so much. So we've always had that exact same philosophy. So yeah, I mean, especially if you're an agent and you kind of feel like you're right on the cusp of like, hey, I want to take this to the next level. I'm not really sure how, or I'm happy in my current situation. Reach out to Josh. I mean, obviously he's already managed 10 people right now and doing a great job on that.
We're growing by leaps and bounds. We're looking for talent. We're looking for agents who, decide that, it's not the business. It's really being an agent. Like, we're in search of people like that. We're in search of very talented people to surround ourselves with to, help them achieve and prosper and focus on what they want to do. So, our website is www.themdhometeam.com. You can search properties there, see a little bit about us. We have a pretty robust profile on Zillow. You can look there. Just look us up. We're one of the top agents in Baltimore. Reach out to me, Josh, at themdhometeam.com. Call our main line, so many different ways. I mean, pretty much if you Google what we're doing online, you'll be able to find out what bunch of music.
You'll find them. Cool. Let's just I'm just going to do a quick recap. So first, and again, this video is, you can gear this towards real estate agents. I mean, that's just because that's the business that you're in. I mean, we're in the investing side of it, but this is really for any business. It doesn't really matter. I mean, this is the stuff that we're communicating on here was not like, hey, how do you, get, I don't know, a listing, or how do you, how do you be a better agent like that? We didn't talk about that. We talked about high level business stuff. So, even if you're outside of the real estate industry, you can still get a lot of knowledge from what we talked about. So I think the first thing is figure out what you want out of your business. I mean, if you want to be a one man band and you're successful at it and you're able to make that work for you, great. I mean, no, this isn't to say like, hey, I'm doing 25 deals a year, but I need to do more. If you don't want to do more, don't do more. If you've molded your career the way you wanted to, all we're expressing is for someone that really, really is where they believe to be is here, and they want to get up to here. That's where all of the things we talked about need to be. So first, figure out who you want to be. If you want to do what you're doing now, great. If you want to take it to the next level, follow some of the key principles we just talked about to help take it to the next level. And like you said, I like the E-Myth Revisited is probably the first book to start with, and you're going to read it and you're going to hear the word technician. You're going to be like, I'm not a technician. I'm not, but you are. I mean, that's just, you're good in the trade.
First time I read it, I was like, oh God, I'm a technician.
Yeah, exactly. So start with that, work your way up. It takes time to do this. So cool. Well, obviously I really appreciate you coming on the show. I think it was super valuable, and I think that there's a lot of value you can bring to everyone, business owners just on a high level, because most of the mastermind groups you're in, most of the mastermind groups I'm in, they're not real estate focused, they're higher level business focused. That's just what it's at. Helping other local agents if they need help locally, and potentially partner up with that, or just in general, getting a good quality homeowner that wants to sell their property. Just because they're not working with you personally, that doesn't mean they're not getting unbelievable service. You're teaming them up with the right agent on your team who is matched up, with the right personality type to reach out to them. Yep. I mean, there's logic behind it. It's not like eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Hey, I think, hey, just take this one. It's, you have a very well-oiled machine, and you have systems in place to make sure every customer that comes into your, into your organization to buy a house or to sell a house is getting matched up for the right person. And I think there's a lot to be said about that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and we do our best and try our hardest, and it's definitely the case. And we take what we do seriously for sure. But as you're alluding to, this is a business conversation. You're selling widgets, you're selling something online, you're selling real estate, you're selling mortgages. It's all the same.
Yeah, it's all the same. Cool. Well, I appreciate it again. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks for your time, buddy.
Cool.